Namaste. So today I want to do a reading. I do it in English, so maybe more people can watch it. And also that's the reason I think. And it's a talk of Osho. It is called I Am That. It might take about 50 minutes, I think not more than that. I'm going to read chapter 1 if my voice keeps working that time. And actually it's talks on the Isha Upanishad. And the talks were given from the 11th of October 1980 to the 26th of October 1980. So at the time I was about 1 year old. It's not an important information, but it's just funny to see that it's almost, the talk is almost as old as I am myself. Yeah. And so I'm going to read it now. So either you may sit down or you can lie down. As it is always with Osho talks, according to my experience, it's not important to understand them with the mind. Better is to let it sink into your being and just witness it like you would, or just listen to it like you would listen to a waterfall. So don't try to understand it with your mind unless it happens by itself. Let us say like this. If the mind understands it by itself without any effort, that's also fine. But please don't do any effort. And as Osho said, and also as I have realized myself, truth can never be expressed in words. It can only be a pointing, like a finger pointing to the moon. It can, like this. So that's what I want to say. So please get comfortable. I mean, if it's too much, you can always stop the clip and continue watching whenever you want. So feel free and do whatever you want to do, or you can also watch it several times, that you might understand it also with your mind, or that I should better say that understanding might happen also through your mind, not only through your being. But whatever happens, it's right. Just be in complete let go and just let it happen. Wonderful. So I'm going to read now chapter 1. And the title is Beyond the Changing. It was read on 11 October 1980 a.m. in Buddha Hall by Osho himself, of course. All his talks were read, or they were not read, they were spoken by him. All his talks were spoken by him. That is the whole. This is the whole. From wholeness emerges wholeness. Wholeness coming from wholeness. Wholeness still remains. At the heart of this phenomenal world, within all its changing forms, dwells the unchanging Lord. So go beyond the changing and, enjoying the inner, cease to take for yourself. What to others are riches, continuing to act in the world, one may aspire to be 100. Thus, and only thus, can a man be free from the binding influence of action. Unillumined, indeed, are those worlds clouded by the blinding darkness of ignorance. Into this death sink all those who slay the self. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om. That is the whole. This is the whole. From wholeness emerges wholeness. Wholeness coming from wholeness. Wholeness still remains. We are entering today into one of the most enchanting and mysterious worlds, that of the Upanishads. The days of the Upanishads were the highest as far as the spiritual quest is concerned. Never before and never afterwards has human consciousness achieved such Himalayan heights. The days of the Upanishads were really golden for many reasons. The most important of them is contained in the seed mantra. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Shishyate. The emphasis of the Upanishads is on wholeness. Remember, it is not on perfection, but on wholeness. The moment one becomes interested in being perfect, the ego enters in. The ego is a perfectionist. The desire of the ego is to be perfect. And perfection drives humanity towards insanity. Wholeness is totally different. Its flavor is different. Perfection is in the future. It is a desire. Wholeness is here now. It is a revelation. Perfection has to be achieved. And of course, every achievement takes time. It has to be gradual. You have to sacrifice the present for the future, the today for the tomorrow, and the tomorrow never comes. What comes is always today. Existence knows nothing of future and nothing of past. It knows only the present. Now is the only time, and here the only space. The moment you go astray from now and here, you are going to end into some kind of madness. You will fall into fragments. Your life will become a hell. You will be torn apart. The past will pull a part of you towards itself, and the future the other part. You will become schizophrenic, split, divided. Your life will be only a deep anguish, a trembling, and anxiety, a tension. You will not know anything of bliss. You will not know anything of ecstasy, because the past exists not. And people go on living in the memories, which are only footprints left on the sand, or they project a life into the future, which is also as non-existential as the past. One is no more, the other is not yet, and between the two, one loses the real, the present, the now. Wholeness is of the now. If you can be simple here, then this very moment, the revelation, there it is, not gradual, it is sudden, it is an explosion. The word Upanishad is tremendously important. It simply means sitting down close to a master. It is a communion. The master is living in wholeness. He is living here now. He is pulsating here now. His life has a music, his life has a joy, a silence of immense depth. His life is full of light. Just to sit silently by the side of a master is enough, because the presence of a master is infectious. The presence of the master is overwhelming. His silence starts reaching to your very heart. His presence becomes a magnetic pull on you. It pulls you out of the mud of the past and the future. It brings you into the present. Upanishad is a communion, not a communication. A communication is head to head, and a communion is heart to heart. This is one of the greatest secrets of spiritual life, and now nowhere else, at no other time, it was understood so deeply as in the days of the Upanishads. The Upanishads were born near about 5,000 years ago. A secret communion, a transmission beyond the scriptures, a communion, a transmission beyond the scriptures, a communion beyond the words. This is what Upanishad is. You sit in silently, not just listening to my words, but listening to my presence too. The words are only excuses to hang the silence upon. The silence is the real content. The word is only a container. If you become too much interested in the word, you miss the spirit. So don't be too much interested in the word. Listen to the heartbeat of the word. When a master speaks, those words are coming from his innermost core. They are full of his color, of his light. They carry some of the perfume of his being. If you're open and vulnerable, receptive, welcoming, they will penetrate into your heart and the process is triggered. What Carl Gustav Jung calls synchronicity explains exactly what happens between a master and a disciple. It is not the same as what happens between a teacher and a student. Between teacher and the student there is a communication. Some information is transferred by the teacher to the student, but no transformation, only information. The teacher himself is not transformed. He himself has not arrived. He is repeating words from other teachers. He may be even repeating words from other masters. But he has not known himself. His words are borrowed. He may be very scholarly, he may be very well informed, but that is not the real thing. Information is not the real thing, transformation. And unless one is transformed, he cannot trigger the process of transformation in others. Carl Gustav Jung calls this synchronicity. The master cannot cause your enlightenment. It is not a scientific process, it is far more poetic. It is not a law like a law of cause and effect. It is far more liquid, far more loose, far more flexible. The master cannot cause the enlightenment to happen in you, but he can trigger the process, and that too only if you allow, not against your will. Nothing can be done to you unless you are totally receptive. This can happen only in a love affair. Between the teacher and the student there is a business. Between the master and the disciple there is a love affair. The disciple is surrendered, that is the meaning of sitting down. He is surrendered, he has put his ego aside, he is simply open in tremendous trust. Of course, doubt will hinder the process. Doubt is perfectly good when you are collecting information. The more you doubt, the more information you will be able to collect, because each doubt will create questions in you, and questions are needed to find answers. But each answer will be doubted again in its own turn, creating more questions, and so on, so forth. But with a master, doubt is a hindrance. It is not of asking a question, it is a quest of the soul. It is an inquiry of the heart. It is not intellectual curiosity. It is not curiosity. It is far more important. It is a question of life and death. When one is tired of questions and all answers, when one is fed up with all philosophy, only then one comes to a master. When one has accumulated much information and still remains ignorant, and all that information does not create any light within your soul, then he comes to a master to sit by his side. There are no questions anymore. He knows one thing, that all questions are futile. He has tried and he has seen the whole futility of it. Now he sits in silence, open, available, receptive, like a womb. The disciple becomes feminine, and only in those feminine moments the master, without any effort on his part, starts overflooding the disciple. It happens naturally. The disciple is not doing anything, the master is not doing anything. It is not a question of doing at all. The master is being himself and the disciple is open. When your nose is not closed by cold and you pass by the side of a flower, suddenly the fragrance is felt. The flower is not doing anything in particular. It is natural for the flower to release its fragrance. If you are open to receive it, you will receive it. The word Upanishad means coming to a master, and one comes to a master only when one is tired of teachers, tired of teaching, tired of dogmas, creeds, philosophies, theologies, religions. Then one comes to a master. And the way to come to a master is surrender. Not that your being is surrendered. Only the ego, the false idea that you are somebody special. The moment you put the idea of the ego aside, the doors are open for the wind, for the rain, for the sun, and the master's presence will start entering in you, creating a new dance in your life, giving you a new sense of poetry, mystery, and music. It is synchronicity. The master is beating in a certain rhythm, he's dancing on a certain plane. If you're ready, the same dance starts happening in you, and in the beginning only a little bit, but that's enough. That little bit is enough. In the beginning only dewdrops, but soon they become oceanic. Once you have tasted the joy of being open, you cannot be closed again. First you may open only a window or a door, and then you open all your windows and all the doors. And a moment comes in the life of the disciple when not only windows and doors are opened, even the walls disappear. He is utterly open, available multidimensionally. This is the meaning of the word Upanishad. The Upanishads are written in Sanskrit. Sanskrit is the oldest language on the earth. The very word Sanskrit means transformed, adorned, crowned, decorated, refined. But remember, the word transformed. The language itself was transformed because so many people attained to the ultimate. And because they were using the language, something of their joy penetrated into it, something of their poetry entered into the very cells, the very fiber of the language. Even the language became transformed, illuminated. It was bound to happen. Just as it is happening today in the West, languages are becoming more and more scientific, accurate, mathematical, precise. They have to be because science is giving them its color, its shape, its form. If science is growing, then of course the language in which the science will be expressed will have to be scientific. The same happened 5,000 years before in India with Sanskrit. So many people became enlightened and they were all speaking Sanskrit, their enlightenment entering into it with all its music, with all its poetry, with all its celebration. Sanskrit became luminous. Sanskrit is the most poetic and musical language in existence. A poetic language is just the opposite of a scientific language. In scientific language, every word has to be precise in meaning. It has to have only one meaning. In a poetic language, the word has to be liquid, flowing, dynamic, not static, allowing many meanings, many possibilities. The word has to be not precise at all. The more imprecise it is, the better, because then it will be able to express all kinds of nuances. Hence the Sanskrit sutras can be defined in many ways, can be commented upon in many ways. They allow much playfulness. For example, there are 800 roots in Sanskrit, and out of those 800 roots, thousands of words have been derived, just as out of one root a tree grows, and many branches and thousands of leaves and hundreds of flowers. Each single root becomes a vast tree with great foliage. For example, the root Ram can mean first, to be calm, second, to rest, third, to delight in, fourth, cause delight to, fifth, to make love, sixth, to join, seventh, to make happy, eighth, to be blissful, ninth, to play, 10th, to be peaceful, 11th, to stand still, 12th, to stop, to come to a full point, and 13th, God divine, the absolute. And these are only few of the meanings of the root. Sometimes the meanings are related to each other, sometimes not. Sometimes even they are contradictory to each other, hence the language has a multidimensional quality to it. You can play with words, you can play with those words, and through the play you can express the inexpressible. The inexpressible can be hinted. The Sanskrit language is called Deva Vani, the divine language, and it certainly is divine in the sense because it is the most poetic, the most musical language. Each word has a music around it, a certain aroma. How it happened? It happened because so many people used it who were full of inner harmony. Of course, those words became luminous. They were used by people who were enlightened. Something of their light filtered to the words, reached to the words. Something of their silence entered the very grammar, the very language they were using. The script in which Sanskrit is written is called Devanagari. Devanagari means dwelling place of the gods. And so certainly it is. Each word has become divine, just because it has been used by the people who had known God or godliness. This Upanishad, in which we are entering today, is the smallest. It can be written on a postcard, and yet it is the greatest document in existence. There is no document of such luminosity, of such profoundness anywhere in the whole history of humanity. The name of the Upanishad is Isha Upanishad. The world of the Upanishads is very close to my approach. In fact, what I am doing here is giving rebirth to the spirit of the Upanishads. It has disappeared even from India, and it has not been on the scene at least for 3,000 years. There is a gap of 3,000 years, and in these 3,000 years, India has destroyed its own achievement. The first thing is that Upanishads are not anti-life. They are not for renouncing life. Their approach is whole. Life has to be lived in its totality. They don't teach escapism. They want you to live in the world, but in such a way that you remain above the world, in a certain sense transcendental to the world, living in the world and yet not being of it. But they don't teach you that life has to be renounced, that you have to escape from life, that the life is ugly or life is sin. They rejoice in life. It is a gift of God. It is the manifest form of God. This fundamental has to be remembered. Upanishads say that the world is the manifest form of God, and that God is the unmanifest form of the world, and every manifest phenomenon has an unmanifest phenomenon inside it. When you see a flower, the flower is only the manifest form of something inside it, its essence, which is unmanifest, which is its soul, its very being. You cannot catch hold of it. You cannot find it by dissecting the flower. For that you need a poetic approach, not a scientific approach. The scientific approach analyzes. The poetic perspective is totally different. The science will never find any beauty in the flower because beauty belongs to the unmanifest form. Science will dissect the manifest form and will find all kinds of substances the flower is made of, but will miss its soul. Each and everything has both, the body and the soul. The body is the world and the soul is God. But the body is not against the soul. The world is not against God. The world manifests God, expresses God. God is silence, and the world is the song of that silence. And the same is true about you. Every person has both, the manifest, the body-mind structure, and the unmanifest, your consciousness. Religion consists in discovering the unmanifest in the manifest. It is not a question of escaping anywhere. It is exploring your innermost depths. It is exploring the silent center, the center of the cyclone. And it is always there, any moment you can find it. It is not something that has to be found somewhere else, in the Himalayas or in a monastery. It is within you. You can discover it in the Himalayas, you can discover it in the marketplace. The Upanishads say that to choose between the absolute and the relative is wrong. Any choice make you partial, you will not be whole. And without whole, there is no bliss. Without whole, there is no holiness. Without whole, you're always going to be a little bit lopsided, insane. When you're whole, you're healthy because you're total. The relative means the world, the changing phenomenal world, and the absolute means the unchanging center of the changing world. Find the unchanging in the changing, and it is there, so there is no question. Just you have to know the technique of discovering it. That technique is meditation. Meditation simply means becoming attuned to the unmanifest. The body is there, you can see it. The mind is there, you can see it too. If you close your eyes, you will see the mind with all its activity, with all its working. Thoughts are passing, desires are arising, memories surfacing, and the whole activity of the mind will be there. You can watch it. One thing is certain, the watcher is not the mind. The one who is conscious of the activities of the mind is not part of the mind. The watcher is separate, the witness is separate. To become aware of this witness is to have found the essential, the central, the absolute, the unchanging. The body changes. Once you were a child, then a young man or a young woman, then old age. One day you were in the mother's womb, then you were born, then one day again you die and disappear into a womb of existence. The body goes on changing, continuously changing. The mind goes on changing. In the morning you are happy, in the afternoon you are angry, in the evening you are sad. Moods, emotions, feelings go on changing, thoughts go on changing. The wheels go on moving around you. This is the cyclone. The phenomenal world is the cyclone. It is never the same, not even for 2 consecutive moments. But something is always the same, always never changes. It is the witness. To find that witness is to find God. Hence, Upanishad don't teach you worship, they teach you meditation. And meditation can be done anywhere, because the question is to know the witness. If you go into a monastery, the same method will have to be applied there. If you go into the mountains, the same method has to be applied there. You can be in the home, in the family, in the marketplace, the same method. In fact, in the world it is easier to see the changing. When you go to the desert, it will be more difficult to see the changing, because in the desert almost nothing seems to change, or the change is so subtle that it is not visible. But in the marketplace, sitting by the side of a road, you can see the change continuously, the traffic on the road changing. It is never the same. Living the monastery is living in a static world, in a dormant world. It's like living like a frog in a pond, in a well enclosed. To live in the ocean will make you more aware of the changes. It is good to be in the world. That is the message of the Upanishads. The Upanishadic seers were not ascetic. Of course, they renounced many things. But the renunciation came not through effort. It came through understanding. It came through meditation. They renounced the ego because they saw it is just a manufactured entirety by the mind. It has no reality, no substance in it. It is pure shadow. And to waste your life with it is stupid. To say that they renounced, it is not right. It will be better to say that because they became so aware, it withered away on its own accord. They became non-possessive. It is not that they did not possess things, but they became non-possessive. They used things. They were not beggars. They lived joyously, enjoying everything that was available to them, but they were not possessive. They were not clingers. That is the true renunciation, living in the world and yet remaining absolutely non-possessive. They loved, but they were not jealous. They loved totally, but without any ego trip, without any idea to dominate the other. This is what I'm trying to do here, and there are fools in India who think I'm against Indian culture. Of course, I am against what has happened in these 3,000 years. That is not a true culture, that is a deviation that is ugly. That has made India poor, that has kept India a slave for 22 centuries, that has made India so starved, unhealthy, unhygienic, for the simple reason, if you teach people that life is not good to live, it is only worth renouncing, it has no value. The only value it has is to renounce. The only virtue is to be anti-life. Naturally, life is going to suffer. But this is not the message of the Upanishads. And the Upanishads are the very soul of this country, and not only of this country, but of all the people who have been religious anywhere. They will find in Upanishads their very heart. They will rejoice in Upanishads, because Upanishads teach wholeness. The relative has to be lived as a relative, knowingly that is relative, knowingly that it is changing, and remembering continuously the unchanging. Abide in the unchanging and go on living in the changing. Remain centered in the unchanging, but allow the changing, beautiful world to move around you with all its season, with all its colors, with all its beauty, splendor. Enjoy that too, because it is the manifest form of God. This is a very holistic approach. The first sutra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamaduchyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om. That is the whole. That means the ultimate, the absolute, the hidden aspect of reality, the invisible, the unmanifest. You can call it God, truth, nirvana, Tao, Dhamma, Logos. That is the whole. This is the whole. And by this is meant the phenomenal world, the manifest world, the world that surrounds you. That means your center. This means your circumference. And both are whole. In fact, both are one whole. From wholeness emerges wholeness. From that emerges this, and out of wholeness, only wholeness can be born. You cannot dissect wholeness. You cannot divide wholeness. Out of wholeness, only wholeness is born. So both are whole. Wholeness coming from wholeness. Wholeness still remains. Also, the wholeness comes from the whole. It does not mean that the whole, the original whole, starts losing something. It is losing nothing. It still remains the whole. This is a tremendously important statement. It will be good to try to understand it through your experience. You love somebody. That does not mean that because you have given, on the contrary, it may be even more. It is not ordinary economics. In the ordinary economics, if you give something, of course you will have less. If you have 10 ordinary economics. In the ordinary economics, if you give something, of course you will have less. If you have 10 rupees with you and you give 5 to somebody, you cannot still have 10 rupees, and certainly you cannot have 15 rupees. You will have only 5 rupees left. This is the ordinary economics, the economics of the outside world. The inner world is totally different. You give love and you have still the same love, or maybe even more, because by giving, your love starts flowing. It may have been dormant, stagnant. By sharing, it starts flowing. It is like you draw water from a well. The moment you draw water from a well, from the hidden spring, more water starts coming to the well to fill the space. If you don't draw the water from the well, the water will become dirty. It may even become poisonous, and the spring will not be used. They will become blocked. If you go on drawing water every day, more and more water will be flowing in the well, and the spring will become bigger because they will be used more. But people live in the outside economics, even in their inner life. The wife becomes very much angry if she finds her husband just being friendly with another woman. The husband becomes aggressive, jealous, if he finds that his wife was having a good time with somebody else, just enjoying, laughing. This is sheer stupidity. It is not understanding the inner world and the inner matter economics. He is still thinking in terms of money, that if his wife has laughed with somebody else, that means she will not be able to laugh with him anymore. So much laughter, it is lost. Now he is a loser, and of course that creates anger. In fact, if the wife does not laugh with many people, does not enjoy friendship, is not loving to many people, her love sources will die. She will not be able to love her husband either. She will forget how to love. Her springs will dry out. That's why you see husbands and wives looking so sad and bored with each other. It is bound to happen. They are going against natural inner law. You have more the more you give. Giving does not destroy anything in you. In fact, it is creative. The person who loves many people will be able to love his wife or her husband more totally. But humanity has not understood this simple phenomenon even yet. We are still behaving in a very childish and stupid way. It is as if your beloved asks you that you can breathe only when I am there, and when I'm not there, stop breathing, because so much breath will be lost, so much life will be lost. And when you come home and you have been breathing in every place, everywhere, you will be almost dead. So when I'm not with you, stop breathing. And the husband will insist also that when I'm not at home, you stop breathing, so that when we are together, great breathing happens. But both will die. That's how we have killed love in the world. We have killed everything valuable because our whole logic is stupid. It is good that a husband goes for a morning walk and breathes in the fresh air, jogs and runs on the sea beach and enjoys the sun. And the wife also goes and enjoys the flowers and the trees and the grass. And when they come together, they will be able to be more alive with each other, more loving to each other. They will be at their peak. They will be full of life choices to share. But this has not yet happened yet. My sannyasins have to remember it. Jealousy kills love. Possessiveness kills love. Be non-jealous if you want great love to happen. If you want your life to grow multidimensionally, it needs freedom. You need freedom, and the person you love needs freedom. In freedom only there is expansion, growth. The word that the Upanishads use for the Absolute is Brahma. It comes from a Sanskrit root, Bri. Bri means to grow, to expand. Hence, for the universe, the Sanskrit word is Brahman. It is only in this century that Albert Einstein discovered the idea, the hypothesis, that the universe is expanding. 5,000 years before Albert Einstein, the Upanishads were saying the same thing, that the universe is continuously growing and expanding. The name they gave to the universe, Brahman, means that which goes on expanding, which is continuously growing. There is no end to that growth, no limit to that growth. A sannyasin, a meditator, has to live his life in such a way that everything goes on growing, expanding without any limit. Your love, your joy, your silence, your life, everything should be allowed to grow. And it can happen only if you allow the same to others. But what we have been doing for thousands of years is just the opposite. We encroach on each other's territory. We destroy the space of everybody in the name of love, in the name of friendship. We use beautiful words to hide ugly realities. If you really love a person, you will allow all the space possible to the person. You will never encroach on his or her freedom. That is the only indication of your love. Not those stupid love letters that you write. Any fool can do that. A computer can do far better than you do. A computer can write love letters. There is no problem in it. Your love can be proved only by one thing: how much freedom you are giving to each other, even the freedom to love others. That is the only indication of your love. And the miracle is, the more we allow each other to love as many people as possible, you will find the person infinitely loving towards you. Because love is not money, love is not commodity. It is an inner energy which grows by sharing, which dies by not sharing. Every Upanishad begins with a seed mantra. The seed mantra means it contains the whole Upanishad. If you can understand the seed mantra, you have understood the whole Upanishad. The whole Upanishad is just that tree that grows out of that seed mantra. This is the seed mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. In this small sutra, the whole Upanishad is contained. What follows is just the growth out of this seed. This is the unmanifest part of it. Then the whole Upanishad is the manifest part of it. And each seed mantra is preceded by the mystic sound Om. That contains even the seed mantra. If you understand Om, you have understood everything. Upanishads are written in such a beautiful way. First, Om. If you can understand that there is no need to go ahead. Om means nothing. It is not a word. Hence, it is not written alphabetically. It is a symbol. It contains 3 sounds. A, U, M. These are the basic sounds. A, U, M. All other sounds come out of these 3 sounds. This is the basic trinity of sounds. Then the whole music of life grows out of this. Om means exactly what Zen people call the sound of one hand clapping. Om is the innermost music of your being. When all the thoughts and desires and memories have gone, have disappeared, and the mind is absolutely quiet and silent, there is no noise inside. You start hearing a tremendously beautiful music which does not consist of any meaning. It is pure music without any meaning, gives you a great joy, fills you with celebration, makes you dance. You would like to shout, Hallelujah! But the music itself has no meaning. It is pure music, not polluted by any meaning. Om represents that inner music, that inner harmony, that inner humming sound which happens when your body, your mind, your soul are functioning together in deep accord, when the visible and the invisible, the manifest and the unmanifest are dancing together, when they are like two lovers in deep love embrace, merging, melting into each other, the manifest making love to the unmanifest, the unmanifest making love to the manifest, when the manifest and the unmanifest are no more two, but have become one. This is represented in the Upanishads by the number 100. The number 100 is used to symbolize the ultimate state of oneness. The two zeros in the number 100 represent this and that, the manifest and the unmanifest, the phenomenal and the nominal, two zeros. Both are whole, and when these both wholes become one, the number 1 in 100 represents that oneness. 100 is a symbolic number. It has a message. The two, the body and the soul, the world and God, the changing and the unchanging, the time and the timelessness, the matter and the consciousness are represented by the two zeros. When those two zeros become one, when they are not antagonistic to each other, as in these 3,000 years the so-called religious people have done, they have destroyed this beautiful symbol. They have put those zeros against each other. They have created a life negativity. Instead of affirming life, they have condemned it as sin. When these two zeros merge in a love affair, into a deep lover's embrace into each other, then oneness is born. That is represented by number 1 in 100. A full material existence with a full spiritual life. That is wholeness. And that's my message to you. Be a spiritual materialist or a materialist spiritualist, because to me they are not separate. The inner aspect is spiritual, the outer aspect is material. The religions have divided humanity into materialists and spiritualists. Now Soviet Russia, China and other communist countries think they are materialist. They are communist. They deny God. They deny consciousness. They deny soul. They deny the unmanifest. They believe only in matter. The word matter means that which can be measured. The matter comes from meter, that which can be measured. They don't believe in the immeasurable. But the immeasurable is there. Whether you believe in it or not does not matter. Your belief of disbelief makes no difference to reality. The immeasurable is there, and not only the mystics are saying it is so, no, now even the physicists are saying so, that the immeasurable is there. The existence is immeasurable. It is so vast it cannot be measured. And the vastness is also expanding, every day becoming bigger and bigger. It is already infinite, and it goes on becoming more infinite. It is already perfect, and it goes on becoming more and more perfect, from one perfection to another perfection. It is never imperfect, so it is not a question of from imperfection to perfection. It is always perfect. It is always infinite, but it goes on expanding. This is the paradox of modern physics. This has been a paradox to all the mystics, but they were not worried by it. That's why they are called mystics. They accept the paradox. They enjoy in the paradox. They love the paradoxical because they know truth can only be paradoxical. But modern physics is very much puzzled because physics is rooted in logic and logic cannot accept paradox. Either it has to be this or that, it is always either or. Mysticism is never either or, and if it is either or, then it is not mysticism. Mysticism is both and. All religions, so-called religious people, are against me. Christians, Mohammedans, Hindus, Jains, Buddhists. For the simple reason, because I'm teaching wholeness. I'm teaching to my sannyasins to be spiritual materialists, because both are. What can we do? It is not a question of our choice. It is already the case. The matter is there and the consciousness is there. Logicians are always choosing. The so-called spiritualists of the world go on trying to prove that the world is illusory so that they can prove that only spirit exists. The world does not exist, it is Maya. It is illusory, it is untrue, it is made of the same stuff as dreams are made of, and the materialist goes on doing the same from the other polarity. He says there is no consciousness. Consciousness is an epiphenomenon. Karl Marx says that consciousness is a byproduct of matter and nothing more. It has no substance of its own. Matter is real and consciousness is only a shadow. It is the same logic. Berkeley says consciousness is real and matter is only a shadow, a thought, nothing else but a dream. But their logic is the same. Both are afraid of accepting both. Both are choosing one. They live in the world of either or. But the true mystic, the Upanishadic mystic, accepts both. He does not even call them two. They are one appearing as two. These two are aspects of one reality, the inner and the outer, the material and the spiritual. So to me there is no problem. You be scientific and religious, you be materialistic and you be spiritualistic. Live in the world and live joyously, but also remain centered in your consciousness. This is bringing the Upanishads back. It is a resurrection. At the heart, all this phenomenal world, within all its changing forms, dwells the unchanging Lord. Everywhere God is present. All that is needed is the eyes to see. Then you will see Him in the rocks and in the stars and in the birds and in the animals and in the people around you. But the first experience has to happen within you. Only then you will be able to see Him everywhere else. So, go beyond the changing and, enjoying the inner, cease to take for yourself. What to others are riches, the unchanging is the God and the changing is the world. Go beyond the changing. Not against the changing, remember, beyond. Beyond is not against. Beyond means live in it, but live in such a way that you remain above it, like a lotus flower. It grows in the lake, but goes beyond the lake. It lives in water, but the water cannot touch it, its velvety leaves. Even in the morning, when dewdrops gather on the leaves or petals of the lotus, they remain separate. The dewdrops are there on the leaves, and you can see them, so beautiful in the morning sun like pearls, but they are separate. The leaf remains absolutely dry. The dewdrop cannot make it wet. That's why that's the way of a sannyasin. That's the way of the Upanishads, living in the world and yet not being of it. Go beyond the changing and enjoying the inner. Don't enforce, enjoy the inner, and then you can understand my approach very easily. It is not a question of forcing. Meditation should not be forced. You should not start a kind of regimentation, a violent discipline. You're not a soldier, you are a sannyasin. A sannyasin simply enjoys the inner, he enjoys the outer also. He enjoys the outer on the same wave of enjoyment he enters the inner. It is the same wave. It is like breathing. The breath becomes in and the breath goes out. Do you think these are two separate breaths? It is the same breath that goes out and comes in and goes out and comes in. It is the same breath. It is the same process. The same process comes in and goes out. Enjoy the outer, ride on enjoyment, and enter into the inner also with the same joy, with the same dance. Don't create a division. There is none. All divisions are manufactured by the priests, the hypocrites, the moralists. They go on creating demarcations that this is outer and this is inner. There is no line which can demark what is outer and what is inner. They are part of one process, one whole. Just as you come out of your house, when it's too cold in the morning, you come out of the house to sit in the sun to take a sun bath. And when it comes too hot, you get up and go in. There is no question of enforcing it, just a little awareness that now it is too hot, so you move into the shade, to the coolness of the house. And when it is too cold inside, just a little awareness, you come out. Enjoy the outer and the inner in the same way and go on moving, riding the same wave of enjoyment, and don't create any distinction. It is the same wave, the same reality. So, go beyond the changing and enjoying the inner. Don't make it something very serious. Don't make a long face because you are meditating, because you are a sannyasin. Look at a picture of a saint, of your saints. Such long faces that to live with these saints will be a hell. I don't think these saints can ever enter into heaven, or wherever they will create their hell. The hell is in their seriousness. Once Buddha was asked, what do you say happens when an enlightened person dies? Does he go to heaven? Buddha said, don't ask nonsense questions. Wherever the enlightened person is, there is heaven, wherever he is. It does not matter where, wherever he is. If he goes to hell, the hell will be transformed. His presence carries its heaven around himself. Heaven hangs around the Buddha, around the awakened person. You cannot send an enlightened person to hell, impossible. And you cannot send your so-called saints to heaven, impossible. The hell is so much ingrained in their beings. Wherever they are, they will create boredom for themselves or for others. Saints are not good company. Even sinners are far better. I have lived with both, and believe me, sinners are far better company than saints. Saints are utterly boring. Saints are very choosy, just if they are saints in the sense of Upanishads, in the sense I call my sannyasins. My sannyasins are saints, but not in the ordinary sense of being a Hindu saint, or the Jain saint, or the Christian saint. The Christian saint seems to be the worst. So boring that I can believe Friedrich Nietzsche that God is dead. He must have committed suicide, surrounded by all the saints. What he can do, what else he can do, he must have committed suicide, feeling utterly bored, and this company is going to be there for eternity now. You cannot escape. Upanishads are full of joy, full of flowers and fragrance, enjoying the inner, not enforcing it. Cease to take for yourself what to others are riches. And the Isha Upanishad is not saying that renounce the world. It says cease to take for yourself. Don't possess, don't become owners of persons or things. Just use them as a gift of the universe. And when they are available, use them. When they are not available, enjoy the freedom. When you have something, enjoy it. When you don't have it, enjoy it not having it. That too has its own beauty. If you have a palace to live in, enjoy. If you don't have, then enjoy a hut, and the hut becomes a palace. It is the enjoyment that makes the difference. Then live under a tree and enjoy it. Don't miss the tree and the flowers and the freedom and the birds and the air and the sun. And when you are in a palace, don't miss it. Enjoy the marble and the chandeliers. Go on enjoying wherever you are and don't possess anything. Nothing belongs to us. We come empty-handed in the world and we go empty-handed. The world is a gift, So enjoy while it is there. And remember, the universe always gives you that which you need. A Sufi mystic used to say every day in his prayers, "Thank you, God, for all that you go on doing for me. How can I repay? I feel so grateful." Once it happened that he was traveling, and for 3 days they were refused shelter because they were thought to be heretics, they were thought to be anti-religious, rebellious. They were not giving food, not even water, not shelter, for 3 days, hungry and thirsty. And the third day, when he was praying again, he was saying to God, "Thank you. How can I repay you? I feel so grateful." Now it was too much. His disciples said, "It is time to say something." They said, "Wait, just a moment. For what are you thanking? For 3 days we have been hungry, thirsty, no shelter in the desert, and the mercy of wild animals. For what are you being thankful?" And the Sufi saint laughed and said, "You don't understand. This is what I have been needed for these 3 days. God always gives to me whatsoever I need. This must have been my need. Otherwise, he would not have given it to me. I'm thankful for it. He always takes care. He does not bother what I desire. He always gives what he feels is right. I'm thanking him. 3 days fasting, 3 days no shelter, 3 days the open sky with stars in the desert, sleeping in a desert, and no wild animal has attacked us. And why are you looking so sad? It must have been our real need." This is trust, and this is the joyful attitude. This is real sannyas. Continuing to act in the world, and one may aspire to be 100. Continue to act in the world, and now remember, one may aspire to be 100. It does not mean only a long life. Of course, that's true it means, because the Upanishadic seers were not against life. They wanted to live long and live joyously, so it was perfectly good. That meaning is perfectly right. Aspire to live long, and aspire to live deep, and aspire to live intensely and passionately. Perfectly right. But don't forget the symbol of 100. That is the true meaning, the higher meaning, the invisible meaning. One may aspire to be 100. Even living and acting in the world, you can become one. Those two zeros of this world and that, those two zeros of the body and the soul, those two zeros of the changing and the unchanging can meet and merge into one even while you're acting in the world. So there is no need to renounce. Thus, and only thus, can a man be free from the binding influence of action. Not by renouncing action, but by acting in such awareness, in such deep meditativeness, one becomes free of action and its binding effects. Unillumined, indeed, are those worlds clouded by the blinding darkness of ignorance. Upanishads call people ignorant. If they are living in the half, they are ignorant. The materialist is ignorant, the spiritualist is ignorant, because both are unaware of the whole. Only the one who knows the whole knows. Into this death sink all those who slay the self. And by dividing your being into two, is like slaying your very being, murdering yourself, killing yourself. Don't cripple yourself, don't paralyze yourself, accept your totality and live it joyously. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om. That is the whole. This is the whole. From wholeness emerges wholeness. Wholeness coming from wholeness. Wholeness still remains. So, this is the end of chapter 1. It has taken more time actually. I was thinking about 50 minutes, but now it's about 1 hour. So, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And I hope it triggered something in you, a deep process of awakening, a deep process of enlightenment. It would be fine, or at least give you a glimpse of it, which is actually the same. And I say thanks again. Take care. Much love. Bye bye.